I've been playing the USS Indiana off and on for the past couple of weeks with a main battery focused build instead of a brawler secondary build. I know in my review of the ship that I posted a couple of weeks ago, I was using Willis Lee. And if you don't have any of the paid American commanders, I would take Willis Lee over William Sims because I think this thing functions better with Lee at the helm. It's just the kind of brawling battleship that you do want to push with. However, if you did want to go with a main battery gun build, I think the best choice is Hoshino. I'll show you the build here. We've got her at the helm, and we're spec'd into double stealth on the inspirations, which I don't know is going to help us out that much in this particular battle. But if we were trying to be more of a gunboat sniper and not trying to push in, then being detected at 12.2 kilometers would allow us to push in further and at least get closer to the action, as well as disengage when the situation calls for it. That's the main reason for building into the concealment. However, I think I've played the Indiana for between 10 and 15 games over the past couple of weeks with this build, and literally every single time I play it with Hoshino at the helm, I just find that we want to continue to push in and not play sort of mid to long range as a sniper. So I don't know that actually building the ship this way at all is that much of a benefit. And in this battle, you'll see us push in pretty aggressively in situations where probably using Willis Lee and having a little bit of extra secondary range would be useful. Now, of course, we spawn on whatever this map is called, Sleeping Giant, near the infamous Thunderdome around the Alpha Cap. And naturally, we want to play this side of the map since this is where we spawned. We've got a destroyer with us, sailing out just in front of us now. Hopefully, he'll be able to get vision of whatever this cruiser is here. And then we know Yamato is about to come around the corner, too. So it's just two ships that we have to fight. Yamato, I suppose, is a little bit of a threat. But one of the good things, like I mentioned in the review about USS Indiana, is that it's got 38mm upper belt and deck plating, which of course is an armor value that can be angled against even the Yamato's 460mm guns. If they hit that part of the armor scheme and it's angled properly, they're going to bounce off and not deal any damage. Defense, on the other hand, has some nasty AP and HE, but also has a really bad smoke firing penalty of, I think, 11.1. So we're able to deal a little bit of damage to him, 23,000 in total so far. And that, I suppose, is partially because of the Hoshino build. The only thing that we really have spec'd into the accuracy of the main battery guns, though, is Flammable Cannoneer. Other than that, you could call this a main battery build because Hoshino's got some skills that reduce the main battery reload time. Her base trait reduces it by 3.5% when fully maxed. She's got a skill in the second row called Dance with Death that reduces the main and secondary battery reload time per 1% HP lost. Megalomania in the third row reduces the main battery reload time by 10%, but also reduces the maximum HP, which is why we're at 66,500 instead of 70,000, although we do have Master Mechanic for the two heals. You might have noticed, too, in the module selection, we're still using the secondary mod because, well, the running with scissors skill in Hoshino's legendary row, I think that's kind of key to the build and why I wouldn't necessarily use any other main battery focused commander, because then you're going to be saddled with the Indiana's 40-second turret traverse time, which is not ideal. It's not the worst turret traverse time base, I suppose, but I think you want to buff it slightly. And for that, you'd probably have to go with either gyrating drill bits, which will buff it to reasonable levels, but will also reduce the Indiana's relatively pedestrian top speed of 27.5 knots to something quite a bit lower. And I think that's not ideal. I don't think you want to cut down the speed on a battleship that already isn't the fastest at the tier. So, the running with scissors, because it no longer nerfs the main battery accuracy, but instead improves the gun traverse speed and the rudder shift time, I feel like that is excellent for this South Dakota class battleship. That even if I am building it for main battery guns, we still want to push in. So at this point, Yamato's been eliminated, not by us, but I think by that Pan Asian cruiser, the Jinan, and his deep water torpedoes. We have a clear path into the Alpha Cap, so we're going to enter it. And then we see the Centurion in the center of the map pushing into Bravo, giving broadside to our position. And while you wouldn't want to give broadside to this thing, it maybe with this build is not as accurate as the USS Alabama at tier 7, but it's accurate enough to hit those citadels on broadsides. And of course, this running with scissors skill improves the main battery damage by a pretty high percentage. I think it is, let's see, it is 15% when the special effect is active. And of course, Hoshino is maxed ranked at rank 16, legendary 4. So this special effect activates when you're within 8 kilometers of an enemy ship. And of course, we were within 8 kilometers of that defense, which means that we got a little bit of a buff there. We're not now. Still, our main battery guns managed to do 3 pens against the Centurion as the defense, which is now nearly 9 kilometers away, lobs a very painful, I think, AP salvo over the island chain. We're going to need to respect that. Centurion, for his part, decides to push forward a little bit, gets spotted again, and smoke up, but it's too late. We're able to take him out. 2 pens, 1 overpen, 74,000 damage done. And we have secured the Alpha Cap. But as you can see, the situation for the blue team still could go south, I suppose. They've got most of their ships on the other side of this island chain near the Charlie and Delta caps, the CVs over there, cruisers over there. We just don't know where is the last 2 remaining enemy destroyers. One of them clearly took this Bravo cap and were spotted, but we did just shoot our guns. Detectability goes back down to normal. Still spotted. That means there's going to be one of the 2 enemy destroyers within 12.2 kilometers of us. And our sonar is just about to run out, so we won't have any advanced warning of torpedoes. But luckily, the South Dakota class battleships are very maneuverable with relatively small turning circles for a battleship anyway, and a good rudder shift that's made even better with the running with scissors build. So we can just zigzag here and avoid any torpedoes that might be coming our way. But spoiler alert, there are none coming our way. Whatever DD took this Bravo cap has promptly left the area, and I think went to the Delta cap to flip that. So my teammates, of course, are telling me to get back, but now with the enemy having 3 of the caps, we can't let that stand. We are ahead of them on points, but if they sink anybody and they maintain hold of these 3 caps, we're not going to be ahead on points for too long. Preußen is the only battleship left alive on the enemy team. We would like to get some shots on his broadside if possible, but we also want to, I suppose, take this cap. And we're not spotted by anybody, aside from this aircraft carrier continually sending planes our way, which is not ideal, of course. And then we are spotted by something, I suppose, because that cruiser, which I believe is a Des Moines, is able to shoot at us. We get a decent hit, I think, there on the Preußen, and then we see USS Laffey promptly smoke up. He must have been spotting us. We go dark. We don't want to shoot our guns again and reveal our position. I think I'd much rather take this cap and then worry about the rest of the enemy ships afterwards. I'll tell you, too, if that Laffey had remained spotted, he would still be within our secondary range, even though this build is designed for the main battery guns, specifically, I guess, for the reload, because we are reloading in 24.2 seconds base. But that Dance with Death skill on Hoshino, well, that reduces the reload time when we lose HP. It's by 0.12% HP for every 1% of your HP lost. So with us being half health now, our reload time is going to be even faster than 24 seconds. It's probably down to the 22-second range, which is good, especially since this thing does not exactly have the pinpoint accuracy of the USS Alabama. If you can get it reloading quicker with the main battery guns and have flammable cannoneer because of Hoshino, you get a little bit more accuracy, but then you get more volume of fire, and you can achieve accuracy by way of that. Anyway, we take the Bravo cap. We're now comfortably even with the enemy team in terms of capture points taken, and the Preußen looks a lot worse for wear. We'll see if we can't reverse here and get some more shots on him to send him back to port. But of course, we do have the enemy CV to contend with. He's coming in now, catching us at the worst possible time when we were deciding to reverse, promptly changing our minds to go forward now just as he drops. And I suppose we can accelerate quick enough to avoid half of his torpedoes. But now we're going to have to sacrifice DCP for the flood and the broken engine, just as Holland comes around the corner, almost certainly to launch torpedoes through this gap. And Holland torpedoes don't necessarily hurt all that much, but they are very fast, so I think we have no choice now. We're going to turn and go toward this right-hand side of the rock to, I suppose, fight Des Moines. Preußen has gone down in the interim. That leaves Des Moines, the Holland, and that other enemy destroyer, the USS Laffey, along with the CV, who I think has retreated out of sight. Des Moines here in this situation is probably the most important target, being the only radar cruiser left alive, and the main counter to our remaining enemy DD, friendly DD rather, who looks like he is on the Laffey's case. So we come around the island, we are able to Citadel Des Moines through the bow, but not twice in a row. If we had been, then things probably would have worked out a little bit better, but as you can see, we're on fire. We're broadside to the Des Moines, and he hits us for 15,000 damage with his AP, taking us out. But we also get the kill on him for the it's just a flesh wound. Team goes on to win the battle, and we have, I suppose, a fairly decent result with sort of a reload-focused main battery build on USS Indiana. 3,500 base XP, probably because of all the planes shot down, and 134,000 damage. But an example of a battle where I think we probably would have been better served if we just had Willis Lee at the helm. So once you complete the campaign and get this ship, I would just stay away from the main battery builds. Even if you do have Hoshino, you could run this if it seems like an attractive idea to you, I suppose. But ultimately, I think this ship is more effective with a secondary battery-focused brawler build. That's what it's ultimately designed for. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.